If you enjoy hearing all about what goes on behind the scenes of people's businesses, then stay tuned. I'm going to be talking all about what I got up to between April and June, so Q2. Let's jump in. Hi there, welcome to the Wholehearted Business Show. I'm Laura. I help health, life and spiritual coaches get more clients so they can generate more income and live their most aligned life. And today on the show, I'm sharing kind of a bit of a rundown of behind the scenes, what's been going on in my coaching business and in my life in general between April and June. So I do these behind the scenes episodes of the show every quarter. And I hope that through me sharing all of the ins and outs of what goes on in the business and my income numbers and things like that, that it's helpful in some way. It's also really helpful for me. Like, I partly do this for me because it's really useful to take stock at these points and really look at what's been going on and what lessons I've learned and what shifts and things I've been experiencing. But I really hope that it's some way helpful for you guys as well, for lots of different reasons and hopefully in lots of different ways. And I'd love to know if it is helpful. Please let me know in the comments or pop me a DM on Instagram if you're finding these behind the scenes episodes of the show interesting, useful, any of that basically. So a jump back to April, the main thing that I did then was create and launch a new course called Create Your Aligned Offer. Now I'm trying to think of what prompted me to create it. I can't remember if it was like a strategic thing or just something that I felt that I wanted to create. But anyway, I created that course, sold, launched it and ran a live round. And I really enjoyed it. I love that course. It's very, very in depth. So it ended up going way more in depth than I was envisaging it would, but it's a fantastic course. I absolutely love it. Like, anyone who is a bit unsure about the structure of their offers and what their offer should be, so whether it should be a one-to-one or a membership or a course, like, that course is going to cover everything for you. It's going to give you loads of information about creating offers strategically that make sense for you and your business. And it's all about, this is all about creating aligned offers. So it's all about making sure that these offers fit into what you need them to fit into in terms of your business and your life and how you want those things to look. So it's a fabulous course. I really enjoyed doing that. And that was the main thing that I did in April. We had 2 weeks off for the Easter break. So those were the two major things that I did in April, was launch that course and do the Easter holidays with the kids, which was lovely. And it was fab. It was just a good month, just a solid good month, all good things. I think I might have signed a couple of clients in April as well, started working with some new clients, but it was just basically a fabulous month. So my income for April was £6,202, and that's roughly $7,800 in that month. So I was really, really happy with that. I'm going to talk a little bit more about my income numbers after I've kind of wrapped up each month, but I was really, really happy with that level of income. And then on to May. So May was a great month. I didn't have any big launches or anything specific like that going on, but actually what I noticed is that there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes for me. So it was things like for some reason, I just had this massive light bulb moment around my offer structure and where I wanted to focus my efforts for my business going forward, basically. So really understanding for me that my core offers are my one-to-one mentoring, my group program Wholehearted Business, and my membership, the Content Marketing for Coaches Club. Having that clarity, and I mean, it sounds really, really obvious. Like, as soon as I realised, I was like, this is so obvious, but it hadn't clicked into my brain in the same way. But once I realised that those were my three core offers, and really that's where, in terms of people coming into my world and how I help people, those are the three places where I want people to go to, because I know that that's where they're going to get the most help. I've got all these courses and other things floating around, some of them within some of those offers, some of them outside of them, and they all have their purpose, but those three offers are my key things, and that's where I want to be guiding people towards, because that's where I know that I can help people the best. And kind of as an aside from that, and also there was other things going on that led to this, I decided to no longer offer branding and website design work. So that has traditionally been, a fairly solid chunk of income in my business has been through brand and design work. And I always accompany that with business mentoring as well, to make sure that people get the best out of it. For a long time, it just hadn't been feeling quite right for lots and lots of different reasons. Like, I really love the designing, I really love the creativity that comes with it, but it just wasn't feeling right anymore. It just wasn't feeling like that's how I want to spend my time. And that was just the light bulb moment. And I was like, okay, I'm going to stop this. And at first I was like, I'm going to stop it until the end of the year. And then I was like, actually, no, I'm going to just stop it. That's okay. And if I do want to bring it back, I can bring it back. It's my business. It's my decision. But it just felt like the right thing to do. So I put out a final call for anyone who wanted to work with me in that program. And I got a couple of signups for that, which was amazing. So I've got 2 people, as well as some other clients who have kind of come through around about that time, who I'm working with. It's not that I don't enjoy or that I'm not enjoying working with those clients, because I absolutely am. It's just, I know that it's ready for that not to be part of my business anymore. And that's absolutely fine. So that was a really big decision that I made in May as well, that has been really beneficial. Another thing that I did in May was I did a big list clean. For anyone who's not familiar with that term, it's basically where you delete inactive subscribers, basically. So people who have subscribed to your list who aren't opening your emails. And it can feel a bit scary when you are deleting like 1,000 people off your list, but ultimately it's really good for your list health. You know, you want a list of people who are actually reading and opening your emails. You don't want a list of people who aren't. And, you know, I'd taken part in some big bundles, some big events. And, you know, you're going to get people sign up for some of the free things that you offer and who just don't read your emails. And that's absolutely fine. So I did a big list clean, you know, got my list, you know, right down to just the people who are actually opening and engaging with my emails. And that was just a bit of a project. And what I want to set up next is a system so that happens on a more ongoing basis, so that I don't do it as like one big bulk thing. It just happens ongoing in the background, that when someone becomes inactive, which in ConvertKit is that they haven't opened an email for 90 days, that they are automatically kind of put through a sequence to either re-engage them or delete them. So that's something that I need to set up in the background, but that was cool. I did that. And then I feel like the other thing that's been, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about this towards the end, but May was when I really started to realise that I feel like I'm just being a little bit braver in my business. And I don't know if this comes from just feeling a little bit more confident about really knowing, like, this is what I do, this is how I help people. You know, I'm getting people really good results, just feeling really good about that. But I just noticed that I was starting to do things and push myself in new ways. So, for example, there's this bundle that I'm going to be taking part of in the summer. It's from Sandra Vanderlee, who's been a guest on the show before. And she's fab. And I know she has some like amazing business besties and business friends. And I thought, you know, she had quite tight guidance for what she wanted in this bundle. And I was a bit like, oh, is this going to fit in or not? And I didn't know. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to just submit and apply and see if I get accepted. And I have, which is amazing. So I always know that what Sandra does is really good fun. Like, she's a big part of the online business world that I'm in. So it just feels really exciting to do that. And usually what my little voice would have said is, oh, don't, like, there's no point in bothering because there's no way I'll get into that. And I was like, well, actually, I might. So I'm going to give it a shot, and I have. So just those little changes. I mean, you know, you might think that that's nuts. I'm sitting here having ran a business for 10 years, and, you know, it's the first time I'm really starting to notice me doing these little things, but it has taken that long for me in some ways. I mean, other times I'll push myself out of my comfort zone in other ways, but these kind of things have taken me a lot of time. So I'm really happy that I've started to notice that shift in myself and just being a little bit braver and a little bit bolder. And I think doing those little things can make a big difference to your business. So I really noticed that in May as well. So my income for May was just over $5,000, and that's roughly $6,300-ish. So I was really happy with that. Again, I'm going to talk a bit more about the numbers in a sec. And then moving on to June. June has just been a fantastic month. It's been very, very busy. I think for me and what goes on in my life, as we get towards the end of the school year, things just go a bit nuts. Completely nuts. I'm recording this now on like the 28th, I think, of June. We've got our summer fair. I'm part of the Parent Teacher Association for 2 schools. Somehow I ended up doing that. Very, very heavily involved in like the organisation of stuff, and that's happening on Friday. So it's just, you know, a big thing that's happening, but that's awesome. So that's happening. But business wise, in June, I went to Atomicon, which I haven't actually spoken about on the podcast yet. I'm going to do a full episode of the show about that experience and about what I learned and about I want to talk a little bit about going to these events in general, because I think it might just be fun to talk about what it's like actually going to these events for people who are like me, a little bit more on the introverted side, I would say. So I'll be talking a bit more about my experiences with Atomicon next week, but it was fantastic. It's for anyone who's not aware of it, Atomicon is a conference, an in-person and online conference for small businesses, small online businesses, and it's actually held in the city closest to me, like my hometown, Newcastle Gateshead, where I grew up. It's, a stone's throw away. It's about a 20-minute drive from where I am now in Durham. It's really not very far. And it's just really exciting that we get events like that. Like we had Joe Wicks. And again, for anyone who doesn't know who Joe Wicks are, if you're not from the UK, Joe Wicks is a really famous personal trainer guy, and he's amazing. He was there, he was up in Newcastle doing this talk, and it was just really, really cool. So it was a fantastic event, and it just really inspired me and gave me a fresh bit of energy, really. It was just fantastic. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. And then other things in June, I took part in a bundle. So I've actually taken part in a couple of bundles. There was the Make It Bloom bundle and there was the Future of Blogging bundle. So I think the Make It Bloom was in May, the Future of Blogging was in June, and even the organiser of the Future of Blogging bundle mentioned that it hadn't been massively successful, she'd done okay on it, but not huge. And I don't know, I mean, it's interesting to kind of see what happens with bundles in general. I'm really excited to be part of Sandra's coming up next month, but that was quite interesting. But I still love participating in bundles. I still love being a part of them. I still like to see who else is in these bundles and kind of get to know people. So that was interesting. And like I say, just honest behind the scenes stuff. It didn't give me a massive bit of list growth, but that's okay. And that's just part of the experience of working with different bundles and different summits and things like that when you're collaborating as part of your marketing. I also joined a new program. So I joined Elizabeth Goddard's Silver Moon Sales. I talk about Elizabeth all the time because she's kind of my go-to person when it comes to any kind of online business teaching stuff. I really resonate with Elizabeth. I've met her several times. I met her at Atomicon. I just like her approach to stuff, and her teaching style just really sits in my brain. It just works for me. So I do go back and I've spent thousands of pounds with Elizabeth learning from her and working with her because I know that what she teaches is solid. So I'm really excited to be in Silver Moon Sales. The idea of that for me is about selling more of these courses and programs that I've got now floating about that aren't necessarily part of my main offers, but that I want to be selling more of because that brings more people into my world and, I can help them in new ways. So I'm really excited to go through that. So part of that program was to create a $9 offer and sell and launch that. So I created Social to Search, which I've been talking about, and that is just a really simple, straightforward offer that gives you lots of ideas about how you can start and transition your marketing away from social media onto more search-based platforms. I'm also going to do another small kind of $9 training that is around using mini seasons for your planning, because that was quite popular as well. So those are the things that have come out of that program so far, but I'm really excited to get stuck in and to put some more strategies behind the scenes that are going to help me sell more of my stuff, basically. And then something else that happened in June as well, just life-wise, was that we had our first family holiday of the year and we went to the Lake District, and we just hit upon the best week weather-wise. And apart from just being a really lovely holiday and a really lovely break, what I discovered was that I love outdoor swimming. So just to go way back, and this is a random thing, I edited a trade magazine for Speedo, which is a swimwear brand, and it was focused on wild swimming. And ever since I edited that magazine, going back probably 2017, 18 maybe, I've wanted to try wild swimming. And I've kind of I've jumped in the sea a couple of times, over the last couple of years, but not done anything really seriously about that. And then when I went to the lakes, I got in Lake Coniston. I was like, right, the weather was just too nice. Other people were in there swimming. I was like, right, I'm going in. Bought a cheapo bikini, kind of mock-up bikini thing with a sports bra and a pair of discounted bikini bottoms. Got myself in the lake and just had the best time. Just felt so connected with nature, so present, and just absolutely loved it. And then that's kind of kicked off a bit of a love of outdoor swimming for me. So it's something I want to include in my life a lot as I go forward. I met up with a lovely, fabulous health coach. I will link to her, Hannah. I'll link to her in the notes. I met up with Hannah in Tynemouth on summer solstice, and we went for a dip in King Edward's Bay. and it was absolutely lush. It was just glorious. The perfect way to celebrate the solstice. And I'm just hooked now. So throw me your wild swimming tips if you've got them. But I'm very much hooked. So I'm really looking forward to incorporating more of that into my life going forward, because it just makes me feel so good. So that's really cool. So June has been a really good income month, not for any particular reason. I think I've just had some clients pay in full, the way things have come along. But although actually, to be fair, there are some reasons why my income has been better this quarter, and I'm going to talk a bit about that in a second. But my income for June was £8,384 so far. Still got 2 days left. Never till the end. And that's just over $10,100 for June. So I'm really, really happy with that, which nicely brings me on to a bit of the numbers chat. So I always share my numbers. I need to get organised enough to share my expenses. My expenses were higher this month because I had a tax bill to pay. So my corporation tax and PAYE and all of that kind of stuff came to about $4,000. So there was a big chunk of that has gone out in expenses this month, and that's fine. And actually, just to say as well, my general ongoing running expenses for the business, because I do know that off the top of my head, is about £500 a month, £500 to £600 a month. And that includes my accountancy, my VA, all of my tech, all of that kind of stuff. That's like my main expenses, just to give you an idea and put some of those figures into context. Obviously, I then have courses and programs that I might invest in. They would be on top of that. And then taxes, as I've just mentioned. So I tend to pay corporation tax in June. That's just the way that my business works in terms of like the months, the accountancy period. And then I pay my personal tax in January. And those are the two big bits of tax. But I also pay PAYE, which is pay as you earn tax, employer's tax, and I pay that roughly every quarter. So there's that as well. And then other expenses. So I obviously pay myself. So I am a limited company. I pay myself as an employee. So I pay myself up to the tax threshold, and then I top that up with dividend out of profit. So that, just to give you an idea of what that looks like in my business, being dead transparent about all of that, that's roughly what it looks like. Given that I only work like 20 to 25 hours a week, I'm pretty bloody happy with that, to be honest. But that's kind of just a quick bit of expensive. I've always meant to mention more about my expenses, because I think when you see income figures without context, it doesn't really mean very much. Like, I could be spending 10 grand on ads and be in a deficit, but not be telling you guys that. But that's obviously not the case. But that's what my expenses roughly look like, basically. And then obviously I share my figures because I just think we don't talk about money enough. And I want to be honest and transparent about what it all looks like for someone running a business. And, you know, I'm just little old Laura up in the northeast, up in Durham in the northeast of England. I'm not like living a flash life, but you know, that's what I'm making right now. That's what my business looks like. And I just feel that it's a good thing to share that. So that's what that looks like. And yeah, the big shift I think that has come through for me around income is that, you know, often my income goals have been like the 50,000 a year plus mark. And more recently, it's been like the 75 grand-ish mark that I've been aiming for. But I think what I've really settled into for this year is if I can hit a consistent 5k a month on average, then I'm really happy if I get to the end of the year and I've made 60k. That would be amazing. That would be a bit of a jump on last year, a bit of a jump on, you know, the years that I've had previously. I would be really happy with that. So that's my focus. And actually just having that as a focus and actually being like, right, how am I going to meet that goal this month? How am I going to get to 5k? What do I need in terms of averaging things out? What do I need to have before like the end of August, when I know that this is potentially the quieter summer period? You know, what do I need to be making to continue that average of 5k to, you know, to get to the end of August, for example? And just having that focus on that goal and actually really thinking like, what do I need to do? How many people do I need to enroll in my coaching program? How many people do I need to get into wholehearted business? And actually really just thinking about that and then doing stuff to make it happen. That's been quite transformational. And I think what has happened over this quarter, like if I think about my figures for the first quarter of the year, I mean, we weren't far off. It was a really strong, I think I was over 5k in January, just over 4k, and this is in pounds, in February. And then I think I went back over, maybe was it about 5 or 6k in March? I can't remember. But like, I think it's just like, because I've got this momentum now, I feel like actually I can do it. So just having that focus. And you know what, the 5k number, to be honest, is kind of like, doesn't mean a lot. I haven't picked it out of thin air. Like, it is a number that means something in terms of, if I have that kind of income for this year, it gives me such a really solid foundation that I can really build on for next year. It gives me some ongoing financial security because I'll have a massive buffer in my business built up. That's kind of where that's come from, but that's the extent of it. But it's just having that focus on it has been really, really helpful. And like, it's not going to work for everyone. And obviously I'm looking at this as an average. Not every month is going to be 5k. Some of them are going to be much less, some of them are going to be much more. That's just the ebb and flow of business. But if I can average that out and get to that goal, then I'm really, really happy with that. So that's what I'm aiming for so far. We'll see how it goes for the rest of the year. Fingers crossed. But given everything, I'm really, really, really happy with where the business is right now. Income, finances wise, being able to just pay that big tax bill without any concern is awesome. So I'm really, really happy with that. And obviously you only get big tax bills when you've got big income. So I never try and feel too bad about tax bills, basically. And then just to talk about a few lessons that I've learned over the last quarter. And to be fair, these are like really just things that are continuing from the start of the year in some ways. So I've been continuing to plan in these mini seasons. Like I said, I am going to do a little affordable training on why I feel that this works and my approach to it, because it really has been quite transformational in terms of how I approach all of that. It's really, really helped me. The quarters are just too long in terms of planning for me. They just don't quite fit, and they don't fit around the commitments that I've got in terms of my kids and childcare and things that might be going on. So that's been really transformational, just continuing to do that. And like I said, I think there's just been this overall shift around the confidence that I feel in myself and in my business, and actually just feeling like, I think I mentioned, like, I just feel like, yes, I know my shit. I know what I'm doing. I'm getting people results. I've got it. But there's just this kind of internal shift that I've experienced. And this is not just actually in the business, this is in life as well. And I'll talk a bit about that in a sec too. But I think there's just this general shift that I've experienced lately. And I don't know if it's part of it's because I turned 40 last year. There's just been this shift, and it's just like, I feel like I'm on it in a new way. And part of that has been more confident. It's taken more risks in business. It's been a bit braver. It's putting myself out there a little bit more. I just feel like there's just been this big shift in that direction. And then, as I mentioned before, I just had like that light bulb moment that I had around the 3 offers. That's been a really key thing. And I think for me, moving my business forward, this is part of how you can have a complicated business on the surface in terms of multiple offers and multiple things going on, but also have that simplicity at the core. And for me, having those 3 key offers and identifying that that's what they are and what role they play in my business and who exactly those 3 offers are for has really been helpful in terms of how I choose to direct my time and attention, because that's where I want people to be going. That's where I know that I can help people, that those are the best containers of support that I have for people to be in. So just knowing that has been really, really useful, and having that identified. I think I mentioned maybe in the last behind the scenes episode that I am planning a little bit of a rebrand, a little bit of a brand refresh, I would say, towards the start of next year. So I'm going to be booking in for some new brand photos, which is really exciting because my old ones were done in 2020 and are well out of date. I'm like a completely new person, let's face it, from 2020 to now. So I'm really looking forward to getting some new photos. But just as part of that rebrand, and I'm kind of behind the scenes very, very slowly looking at things like my messaging, what it is that I stand for, like, why do I want people to get on my bus and not someone else's bus? Like, lots of people teach people about coaching businesses, lots of people teach people about this stuff, but why should you get on my bus with me? And getting really, really clear about that. Like, what is it that I stand for? What is it that you're buying into when you come and work with me? Like, that kind of stuff. And hopefully a lot of that is kind of, you get that through osmosis just from watching the show and listening to the show and reading my blog posts. But I want to get that clear. So that's kind of all going on in the background. And again, I think part of this is stirred up through that new confidence that I'm feeling, but I'm really excited to dig into all of that as well. And then when it comes to just a bit more of like health and life stuff, I always kind of sum up at the end. And I've been blogging for 10 years, if not longer now, actually probably more like 12 years. And I've always shared stuff that's going on with my own health and well-being in my life, and these behind the scenes posts is another way for me to continue to do that. So I mentioned in my last behind the scenes episode of the show that there'd been quite a big shift in terms of essentially my weight. Trigger warning for anyone who doesn't want to be hearing about this, skip forward about 2 or 3 minutes and you'll miss it. But for anyone who just want to hear about it, I think I just had this kind of epiphany. I mean, like last year, I made some big changes to my routine and the way that I was taking care of myself, and that resulted in some weight loss. Then there was a bit of a weight gain back. And then at the start of this year, I just felt this, fresh kind of clarity, like my routine settled down. I wasn't like renovating a garage kind of thing. My routines are settled down, and I just feel like I found a groove in terms of the habits and practices that really sustain me and make me feel good. And although I did want to lose a little bit of weight, I just didn't feel good in myself whatsoever. That wasn't the main purpose. Like, I just want to feel good in myself. I just want to feel energized and good about myself and good in my body without all of the diet bullshit that we know just isn't helpful at all. So for me, and again, I'm speaking as someone who has been on a journey that has literally been from being 7 years old when I first became aware that I was quote unquote overweight and that it was a problem, that how I looked was a problem, how I ate was a problem. I was a problem, shall we say, from the age of 7 up to now, where I feel that I've done, and I've been on the heavier side. I've had, what I can confidently call an eating disorder, and I've come out the other side of that. And I feel like I've got so much experience under my belt now and awareness that I haven't had at any other point in my life. And now it's like, I just feel like I know myself well enough to know what works for me and what doesn't, and to know how to approach things in a way that works for me and that doesn't. And it's taken a long, long time. I mean, I'm 40. It's taken a long time to get there. And, part of us is really proud of myself for getting to this point. I have struggled for so long with this. I'm actually getting a little bit emotional about it, which is daft, but I've struggled for so long with this, and actually just getting to the point where I actually feel really good about it, and I feel like I can sustain it, and it hasn't come from a place of like not loving myself. I know it sounds like really cheesy, doesn't it? But that hasn't come from a place of not loving myself. That has come from a place of wanting to take care of myself and wanting to be the best me that I can be going into this decade of my life. It really has come from that place. So I just feel really happy about that, and I just want to celebrate that a little bit. So that's kind of where I am. I didn't expect to get emotional on this today, but hey, there we go. But I just feel really, really good about that, and I feel really good in myself. And I feel like, I was I was very much a late bloomer, and I just feel like, I got myself, I haven't actually got it on, but I got myself a necklace when I turned 40, and it said the best is yet to come. I am just getting started. There's so much more good stuff coming. I just feel like I'm in this place. And when I was reflecting on this, I was like, I've been on, when I think about like why this has maybe just kicked in for me right now. And obviously I've had like issues that I've had to work through and stuff like that. But, I was on the pill at 18 until I was 28. Then I had an eating disorder. Then I was pregnant. Then I was breastfeeding. Then I was sleep deprived. Then I had a fucking pandemic. Like, literally, it's just now that those things have not been going on. That I haven't been pregnant, breastfeeding, sleep deprived, eating disorder, on the pill. Like, and I'm 40. How fucked up is that? Like, that is, to me, like, it's just mad. But this is the first chance I've had, when I think about why maybe things are really coming together for me right now, and why I'm feeling confident, and why I'm feeling good in my body, and why I've actually got the energy to work out, and why I've got the energy to be intentional about my food without being restrictive, and all of that kind of stuff. And I think it's because of that. Like, literally, this is the only time in my life when there hasn't been like a major thing fucking it up. And I mean, I really hope that perimenopause and menopause doesn't come along and spoil it, but I do feel like I'm well prepared to manage that as and when that occurs and happens, and what that looks like for me and my body. So that's where I am. I didn't expect to talk about that in that way, but actually, as I'm talking about it, yeah, this is where I am. So I'm feeling really, really good. Like, I'm feeling the best I've felt in probably ever, actually. Yeah, and I'm 40, and I feel the best I've ever felt. Genuinely, like, I feel strong, I feel good in my body. Like, I'm not saying that everything's perfect, not by a long shot, and it's absolutely not, but in terms of other experiences that I've had, other things that I've had going on, like, I am on it, and I'm going to celebrate that a little bit. So I hope it's all right that I celebrate that with you guys, that I'm in this good place. And like I say, anyone who has, God love you if you are still following me from the olden days of vlogging. If you're still here, my gosh, you deserve a medal. But for those of you who are here, who have been with me through the whole way, I mean, first of all, like I say, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. You'll know that it's been a long and windy and weird journey for me in terms of stuff that's happened, stuff that I've gone through and things like that. And I feel like I'm going to celebrate it while it lasts, because nothing ever stays the same. There's one guarantee in life, is that things will change. But right now, for where I am right now, I'm feeling awesome, and I just want to celebrate that. So yeah, there we go. That was what's been going on for me between April and June. With a bit of an in-depth kind of exploration of what it means to be 40 years old, and I've gone through all of that stuff at the end. But I really hope that's been helpful and interesting, giving you some stuff to think about yourself. As always, I'd really love if you have found this helpful, interesting. If you've got any response to what I've just said, please do share it. Like I say, pop me an Instagram. I'm at wholeheartedlylaura on Instagram. Leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up, or just pop me an email. I'm laura@wholeheartedlylaura.com, and I will very, very happily reply. But I hope that's been helpful in some way. I love doing these behind the scenes posts. It really helps me just get it all out, basically, and kind of share all of this with you guys. Right, I'm going. Lots of love to you guys. Thank you so much for being here with me. As always, I really appreciate that you spend the time with me in these small ways. It really does mean a lot. I hope you have a fantastic week. I will see you next week. Take care. Bye.